Hi, Victor. I'm the mass analyst. Well, I just can't resist jumping into this. I just can't resist jumping into this drama that's developing between you and GregSolomon, and that has been in development for some time now between Greg and Renetto and Greg and Myrealitybytes. Now, for any of my viewers who are a bit confused about what's going on here, I recommend watching my past 4 or 5 videos and watch some videos by GregSolomon and Myrealitybytes and Victor, and I'll post some links in the sidebar. Now, Victor, I'm going to get to some of the points you raised, and they are not necessarily in any order. This isn't necessarily going to be coherent or easy to follow, but forgive me for jumping around here. Now, you condemned, and maybe condemned is too strong a word, certainly at least frowned upon Greg's reposting of the DMCAd video on live video. Now, as far as I see it, he did nothing wrong there. In fact, you also condemn or at least frown upon people using other people's videos without their permission. Well, people shouldn't have to get one another's permission before using their videos. They shouldn't have to, because if it falls within fair use, if they use clips in order to make a point and it falls within fair use, then the requirement that you should have to get permission cuts down on a lot of legitimate free speech. How would it be possible to expose somebody, to show that somebody's a liar or a fraud or a scoundrel, if you can't take clips of their videos to show people, to show your evidence? You have to cite your evidence, and the best way to cite your evidence in this medium is to use clips to prove what you're about to say. Otherwise, if you caught somebody doing something really scandalous, they could just post their videos and go, oh, what are you talking about? Never happened. Nope, never happened. And over time, the record will be lost. So there is a definite need to be able to do this. Now, it's unfortunate that the DMCA is a horrible piece of legislation, and YouTube's implementation of the DMCA is terrible. And that YouTube doesn't give wide berth to fair use, that YouTube doesn't recognize that which is recognized within the law. But that's the case. And it's unfortunate that Myrealitybytes DMCA'd Greg's video. I don't think Myrealitybytes had any reason or had any legitimate reason to DMCA it. The DMCA, if this were ever to go to court, the DMCA would not hold up. There's no doubt in my mind. Greg's use was fair use. There's not a doubt in my mind about that. I could go into a 4-factor analysis of this. I don't want to bore you with 5 minutes talking about that. But there's no doubt in my mind that Greg's use fell within fair use. Now, as far as his posting the video on live video and linking to it after it was DMCA'd, well, I have a little confession to make. I made a 4-part video on this issue, and I was going to make and Greg and I exchanged a few emails. I'm not going to tell you what he said. I have no reason at this point to make what he said public. There's absolutely no reason to do this, but I will make public what I said. I was the one who suggested to Greg that he post his video on live video because I wanted a complete historical record available for people to be able to see what was going on. I couldn't have that historical record because a crucial piece of the record was missing, the video that was DMCA'd. People couldn't see for themselves whether or not Greg's use was fair. People couldn't put the context, they couldn't put what was being said in context because an absolutely essential, crucial piece of the context was missing. So I suggested that he post it to live video. I didn't tell him what he should name it on live video, and I didn't tell him that he should post a video of his own with a link to it, but I told him that I would want to make a video posting a link to it. So my confession here is you're condemning Greg for it. Well, if you want to condemn someone, condemn me for recommending the idea. I see nothing wrong with posting a video that shouldn't have been DMCA'd in the first place on live video. Now, let's see. Myrealitybytes is pissed at Greg because Greg is claiming that, at least as far as I understand it, that she is accusing Renetto of plagiarism. And as far as I can tell, Myrealitybytes never did actually accuse Renetto of plagiarism. At least she never made that explicit accusation. She never said, Renetto, you're a plagiarism. She never even said, Renetto, maybe you're a plagiarist. She never said anything like that. As far as I can tell, she just showed a toy which had the same loop on it that was in Renetto's video, and it was evident that this toy was created before Renetto's video. And she posted this as a video response to GregSolomon. So she didn't actually say that Renetto was a plagiarist. Now, she's denying that she even meant to say this or anything like that, and she's kind of upset that Greg is using her video to bash Renetto over the head over this. Well, I find this a little disingenuous. If you look at the comments on her video, GregSolomon is a bully. I think it's titled something like that. If you look through the comments, you'll see her commenting on it. And she said that she's only watched a couple of videos by Greg, so she didn't. I guess she didn't know what he was all about. And well, she didn't exactly say that, but she said she just watched a couple of. One of those videos was a video about Greg singing a song about Renetto. Now, here's what I find a little bit disingenuous. Maybe I'm reading things wrong, but this is what strikes me as a little disingenuous about Myrealitybytes' claim that she didn't intend for her video to be used as a club to bash Renetto over the head for plagiarism. Even if she just watched that one video by Greg before she made the video response, as she claimed, well, that video was gloating over Renetto's imminent demise. In fact, Greg has made 3 recent videos gloating about Renetto's imminent banishment from YouTube. Now, why would someone make the video about the toy showing that the toy had the loop before Renetto's song had the loop and send it to a person who you know was gloating about Renetto's imminent demise and not believe that they were going to use that information as a tool to bash Renetto over the head? That just doesn't make sense. So it looks to me like Myrealitybytes' disavowal of accusing Renetto of plagiarism, even indirectly. Yes, she didn't do the dirty work, but I have to believe that she knew that Greg was going to take the ball and run with it. I just have to believe that. Now, if I remember correctly, and this is what you said in your video, you said that Greg, when he posted the video over at Live Video, had the title, A Lady Accuses Renetto of Plagiarism. I remember that. But the thing is, I didn't get a snapshot of that, so I don't want to state this as a fact. And you know, I'm getting past 50, and when you get past 50, you start worrying about, gee, is Alzheimer's fault beginning to close in? Is my memory correct or not? I remember this, but I don't want to claim it as a fact because you never can tell. One of these days, the masked analyst is just going to become the masked anal, and I don't want this to be that time. But going under the assumption that you're correct and my memory is correct, and that Greg did indeed title the video as such, then Greg is putting words into her mouth that I don't think she ever said. I don't think she ever said this, and so he is exaggerating things a bit. Now, I can understand where he would think that she was accusing him of plagiarism. Obviously, why would she send the video to him if that wasn't the intent? So I'm not going to accuse Greg of out-and-out lying because his state of mind may have been as such that he really believes that she was accusing him of plagiarism. So in his mind, that could very well be a belief. But I think it's a mistaken belief. Similarly now, it seems like he is threatening to sue you because you've called him a liar on this. I'm not sure exactly what it was that you said that he lied about, but my interpretation of your video is that you lied, or you said that Greg lied when he labeled that video, A Lady Accuses Renetto of Plagiarism. My impression is that this is what you said was a lie, that Greg's titling of the video was a lie. And if that's indeed the case, then what you said, I think, is a very reasonable conclusion to reach, even if it's not true, even if Greg wasn't lying. Based on the facts that were available, your conclusion was a reasonable one to reach, and I think most people would come to the same conclusion. And now Greg is he's threatening to sue you if you don't take that video down because you accused him of lying. Well, first of all, I flat out agree with Greg that Myrealitybytes DMCA against him is bogus. What she did when she did that, that's impinging on his free speech. Now, if she didn't like what he had to say, and she very well may have grounds for not liking what she had to say, she had another remedy. She could have made a video, and she did in fact make a video denouncing this. And if she still really didn't like what she had to say, if he thought that somehow he was libeling her, although I don't think he was, but if somehow she thought he was libeling her, then she could have sued him for libel. But filing a copyright complaint when in fact what he did was within fair use is something that she should never have done. It was total bullshit, and it's trying to censor a part of the record. So that's total bullshit. Similarly, what Greg is pulling with you is absolute, utter bullshit. You had reason to call him a liar. A reasonable person would call him a liar. You may have been incorrect, but the law does not require us to be 100% correct all the time. If that were the case, no one would say anything. If anyone could sue anyone for libel for saying something damaging against them merely for being incorrect, then no one would say anything. Free speech would shut right down. Now, there's a key question here. Is GregSolomon a public figure? Because how much he'll have to prove in order to show libel will depend on whether or not he's a public figure. If he's a public figure, then he will have to prove by clear and convincing evidence that what you said was false, and that you said it knowing it was false or with reckless disregard for the truth. That is a very hard standard to meet. Almost impossible. I'm not going to say it's totally impossible, but it's an incredibly hard standard to meet. Your speech would be protected. In my opinion, no way that Greg is going to be able to show that. Now, if he's not a public figure, if he's really a private figure, he would still have to prove negligence on your part. And quite truthfully, after reviewing the record, in my humble opinion, I could be wrong, maybe the courts will say I'm wrong, I don't think you were negligent. I thought that your conclusion was a conclusion that a reasonable person could make given the facts that you were aware of. And so I don't think that that rose to the level of negligence, but who knows. Now, my personal opinion, I think GregSolomon is a public figure, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not an expert here. As I've said many times in past videos, I'm not a lawyer. But court cases have ruled consistently that someone becomes a public figure if A, they have access to the media, and B, they voluntarily thrust themselves into a public debate. Well, Greg has some 6,000 subscribers. He's got almost as much access to the media as most people here on YouTube. People can see who are interested in this conflict are quite capable of seeing Greg's videos. He's quite the eloquent spokesman, and he's very capable of giving his point of view, of countering anything that he disagrees with. If he thinks that you are lying by calling him a liar, he is quite capable of making his case before the YouTube audience. In fact, he is one of the most capable speakers on YouTube. So I think that he has access to the media. Now, has he voluntarily thrust himself into a public debate? I think he has. I think he voluntarily thrusted himself into a public debate the moment he made a video semi-accusing Renetto of plagiarism. He didn't actually accuse Renetto of plagiarism, but he came this close, and he posed it as a question. It's obvious where he was leading. And so I think that was, in that manner, he voluntarily thrust himself into a matter of public debate. Now, I see a lot of fault going on here. A lot of people are at fault here. Now, I was at fault when I made my first video by not checking with Greg on the circumstances of his blocking Myrealitybytes. According to him, she blocked him first. Okay. So I have a little bit of fault. I'm going to make mistakes. I'll admit it. I'm not perfect. Myrealitybytes made a huge mistake in DMCAing GregSolomon. I think GregSolomon made a significant mistake in making his video about Renetto possibly being a plagiarism. He certainly didn't do all the homework he could have, because a couple of days after Renetto made that 2-bit video, the video that's at the center of this controversy, he made another video in which he described precisely how he created that video using GarageBand, and he showed precisely how he got that loop in question. So there's no need to speculate as to whether or not Renetto is a plagiarist. We can dance around words. Different people could have different interpretations of the word compose. I think Renetto was a little sloppy in that he should have used the word arranged, but clearly his intent was not plagiarism. So I think Greg made a huge mistake there. And I think Greg, if he goes ahead and sues you and stomps on your right to have an opinion that he's a liar, well, I think that's a huge mistake. It's a bitch move. It's a bitch move. Greg, don't do it. Don't be an asshole. Gimmeabreakman has just as much right to voice his opinion about you as you have of voicing your, in my opinion, totally incorrect opinion about Renetto. Well, there you have it. I'm sure I pissed off a lot of people because I've said everybody is wrong. And on the other hand, maybe everyone will say, hey, well, people did some things right. He's not accusing any one party of doing something wrong, but that's my take on things. This is the Masked Analyst under an N.